Thank you all for joining us for the President's Innovation Challenge information session. We are so excited that you are interested in joining a team and competing in UNLV's first ever President's Innovation Challenge. My name is Navina Sejdic. I'm the Executive Director of Leadership, Professional Career Development. And joining me are Dr. Robert Rippey, Executive Director of the Blackfire Innovation Hub, Dr. Bo Bernard, Vice President of Economic Development, Dr. Kate Corrigan, Vice Provost for Graduate Education and Dean of the Graduate College, and our special guest speaker, Greg Lull, Chief Marketing Officer at Credit Karma and double UNLV grad. Today, you're going to learn more information about the challenge, hear about innovations that are happening here at UNLV, and ask us any questions that you might have. So I'm going to hand it over to Bo and Kate to get us started.
Hi, Bo.
Hi, Kate. How are you? Who's leading? Shall I lead off?
I don't. Okay, you start and I'll jump in.
I will just say I'm super excited. I'm also a double UNLV grad, and I wish there was something like this when I was at UNLV. This is the kind of thing that I think the university, frankly, wasn't grown up enough to be able to support and handle and facilitate, frankly. But now, did you see this week? We go to a university where our robotics team is a finalist for the X Prize, the $10 million X Prize. You know, we have other scientists. We have 2 scientists on the Mars team. Yep. We're the only university aside from MIT that has 2 scientists, 2 faculty members, people you can take classes from every day over on the main campus. And we have a cover story of Nature on the discovery of and the achievement of superconducting at room temperature, which has never been achieved in human history and happened a year ago across campus. And because of all those, big brains and innovative brains, once more, I think that this kind of a challenge really gets fun, right? Because it allows us an opportunity to put together folks from across campus, to provide some rewards for doing so, but it really is driven by President Whitfield, who's up there on our screen, and his experience in seeing things like this at universities where he has operated, like most prominently Duke University, where they have a research triangle park that has just been the hub of innovation for an entire region. And he's brought an energy to this campus, including to this particular initiative, that I hope we all feel, but that certainly has driven this particular project as we've all gotten excited about it and followed his lead. So yeah, I just am thrilled to be here and happy to support all of this as vice president once again, but I'm also a customer, right? I also consumed this as a student and very proudly. So, and I'm just thrilled to get the opportunity to see where this heads, because I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
There's no doubt it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so why are we doing this and what is it? So the President's Innovation Challenge, you're gonna hear a lot about it. We're gonna go through all the details. But the bottom line is we live in a time when innovation is at the fore. Both, young people, students, the world at large is looking for great ideas to move things forward, to make the world a better place, to solve the problems that we're facing, right? And where better than on a university campus to be a hub to really foster innovation. And we do that through our research and our scholarship and our creative activities, right? So what we really wanted to do is set aside time, space, opportunities to support teams of students. And what you're going to hear in a moment is not just teams of students, but multidisciplinary teams, because we know that as brilliant as you can be in one discipline, right, it's not enough. To solve complex problems requires lots of different brains that work lots of different ways, thinking out of lots of different kinds of boxes, right? And so we really wanted to give students a chance to come together in teams, maybe with other students maybe with students that you're just meeting and partnering with this year for this event, and to have those teams tackle a big question. And we wanted it to be a question that's regionally relevant, because we see this innovation challenge as a tremendous opportunity to do something that we always strive to do, most especially Bo and his team, and that is to build these campus community connections, right? To make sure that our university isn't looking inward, but that we're reaching outward, yeah? And likewise, to bring the community onto our campus. We cannot and should not be doing this in silos. And so we see this as an opportunity to ask a question that's relevant to all different disciplines, that students can address and tackle from different angles, but that also has regional relevance and will provoke and encourage engagement from partners all over Southern Nevada. So the question that we've posed for all of you and all those 32 folks who have signed up already, and we're hoping for lots more, the question we're posing is simply this, that COVID-19 has changed the world, undoubtedly, in so many different ways. And in Las Vegas, it achieved, as I think Bo was the one to say, the unimaginable. It closed the Strip, right? And so those of you who are here in those early months might have done as I did and bike ride down that strip, drive down the strip. There was nothing there. There were security guards in front of casinos. Everything was boarded up. Who would have thought? Who would have thought, right? That was something we had never imagined, and there it was. And that's just one tip of the very large iceberg of impacts that the pandemic brought to the world. So when the famous city's lights went off in 2020, it looked like a zombie movie, right? Literally at night, it was really kind of spooky, right? Y'all were there. You took your kids probably, they'll always remember this moment. But Las Vegas did not shy away from that challenge because we never do. Las Vegas has a long history of jumping in on problems and figuring out a way to solve it. That's how we've grown this massive city in a desert, right? And Las Vegas realized that we needed more resilience, more economic diversity, and more ingenuity, that it's a matter of survival. So the question then is, what do we do? How do we do this? What innovation could really foster economic diversity, encourage resilience, build and strengthen our community, not just to address the problems of today or the challenges we face today, but to anticipate and address, the challenges that we'll face tomorrow, and to vision a bigger, better, brighter future for Southern Nevada and beyond, right? So that's the challenge. It's big, it's broad, it's open. And so the very first step in this is your task. And your task then is to invent a creative solution to Las Vegas's economic diversity challenge, right? We're known to be a tourist town. The Strip is what people think of when they think of Las Vegas. So how do we economically diversify? And in doing so, make Las Vegas's economy more resilient, more diverse, and more sustainable for all Las Vegans? That's the question. So,
In other words, tackle the big one, right? I mean, this is the question for a region's survival, right? No pressure, no going after little things here, right? But as Kate said, we're better than a university, right? This is exactly the kind of thing that you hope your local university is going after, because this is the big one.
And your answer, the response, right? Just see if we're on the same page. I think we are. Can be big and broad and a huge vision, or it could be a really small innovation that's transformative, right? That digs in and focuses on one problem, one challenge, one issue, and really comes up with a creative and effective and impactful solution. Oh, welcome.
Hi, sorry about that.
No worries at all. We're just starting. So, over the course of the coming months, the teams will be formed here in the coming weeks. We're going to provide, you can go back a second. We're going to provide a number of different opportunities for workshops and to get you rolling. And from now until April, we're going to ask teams to compete, and there'll be 2 stages. The first stage is from now until December, and you'll all compete at that stage. And then out of that, we'll identify our semifinalists. And those semifinalists will continue the Innovation Challenge into the winter and the spring semester, and will culminate with a big competition in that first week of April in front of campus and community judges. And you will recognize these names. We've dreamt big, and we've got big names who will be evaluating and offering feedback to the groups. And so that's the plan. Now, why should you do it? Besides the fact that it's important, that it'll give you this incredible opportunity with your team to build friendships, to build skills, to get in front of community members and have career opportunities potentially. We also have dangled a whole bunch of prizes out there for you, right? We don't want to leave it to
Also money.
right? And not just money, scholarships. We're going to pay for a class, and then our great idea was we're going to dangle a free parking pass. I'm like, if that doesn't get you, nothing will, right? So the cash prizes total over $50,000. The winning team will get a $20,000 grand prize, as well as a place at the amazing new UNLV incubator over at the Hughes Center. Here, Robert Rippey and Bo Bernhardt. It's, a stone's throw from the university, but it really transforms you into a space that's empowering and innovative. And it's just opened in the last couple of weeks, and the winning team will get a spot to work there and incubate their idea. You're going to have mentors that will help you transform your idea into reality, including support for patents and commercialization, if that's relevant to your idea. We also know that you're going to be working really hard, so we want to make sure if you advance, we're going to pay for your a course for the spring semester, so we take some of your tuition burden away, and of course that free parking pass, I'll mention it again. And then along the way, you're going to have late nights and weekends, and you're going to squeeze in time to work with your team in between all kinds of other responsibilities, right? We know your plates are full, and so we do not expect you to make this your whole life. But we also know that this is a great opportunity to really invest time and to do something amazing. And so to do that, we're going to help you by putting together sustenance packages, right? We're going to get you, cards to cover your coffee and your pizza and your late night subs. We want to make sure that you have what you need to be powered up and to do this well. So that's what we're putting out there as incentives for you to participate. And we think it's pretty remarkable. I can tell you UNLV has never, ever done anything remotely close to this in terms of the size or the impact of the prizes. Talk about the teams.
You talk about the teams.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining the call. Thanks for everyone who's here today. So as Kate talked about, the teams are multidisciplinary. What does that mean? Mix up majors. Why? As she said, that gives the best perspective on solving the problem because you each see the problem through the lens of your knowledge. And when you apply that difference and that diversity, you end up with better solutions. This is what I teach in my innovation lab, is that we draw students from different disciplines to approach the same problem, but from those different directions. And what happens, and what's been proven in places like Silicon Valley and in other universities, is that you end up with a better product. You end up with that diverse thinking and that critical thinking based upon the academic background you have that improves it and moves it along faster and ends up being much, much better. So each team has to have at least one grad student and one undergraduate student. This is important because this helps you gain some of that diversity. But if you don't have that, if you don't know a grad student or you don't know an undergrad student, we're going to help you by linking you up with one. We'll coordinate that and find a good partner for you. And given that, I think that's kind of the basic requirement for teams, right?
It is.
Okay.
So we'll be working on helping you get signed up and get your teams together.
Once more, if you're overwhelmed, totally okay at this point. In fact, it would be weird if you weren't, right? But trust us, again, we're academics who study stuff, right? There's a great book called Rebel Ideas. It's called Rebel Ideas. It's by Matthew Syed, who's kind of the Malcolm Gladwell of England. He writes for The Guardian. But his entire book is filled with illustrations of teams like this, with multidisciplinary groups working together, but largely novice, having surprisingly successful solutions to all sorts of long, vexing problems, like how the heck do you diversify an economy that's sort of on the drug that is the Las Vegas Strip and has really struggled to wean itself and figure out ways to diversify, right? That's not an easy question. We know that, but we're here for you. And this actually has a track record, this approach, and it's one that Dr. Rippey in particular has seen work in his own classes on innovation.
Works quite well, actually. You do mix the multidisciplinary approach with defining the problem, which typically is the hardest part, defining the problem. Well, we've kind of given you the problem is help us solve this question of economic diversity. Now, there's a subsector to that, which is what is your idea to solve that, to create some new nascent industry or new product here in Las Vegas. And so that's where all of the support network comes in. You've got a lot of experts who will be mentoring you, giving you access to equipment or technologies or training that might help you further define and express that idea.
So now that you have a little bit of an idea of what the President's Innovation Challenge is, we'll give you a few more details here at the end. But now that you have a little bit of an idea, I'd like to introduce our friend Greg Lull, who's come over from Northern California. He's a UNLV alum and a rebel at heart. He's here for homecoming week, and he's going to be recognized tonight as the Graduate College Alumni of the Year.
Awesome.
Greg, it comes to us from Credit Karma. So hand it over to you.
I feel so uneducated with only a master's degree. Thanks for letting me slum it. I would like to yeah, so I guess just a little bit about me. So I have a master's in electrical engineering and a BSc here as well. And went into marketing. And I mean, what you're saying about multidisciplinary just resonates so well with me. I think you know, a couple of things. So when you look at just in Silicon Valley, you know, we were starting Credit Karma. It's a multi co-founder company, and you actually see that those are far more successful in startups. And it's for this reason. If you have a single founder, you certainly have several examples of that being successful, but on average, it's better to have that diversity in thought. And the further apart they are in disciplines, the better. So if you have somebody who's a business person and like a technical person, that ends up being a lot better than having like a Mark Zuckerberg, like CTO founder on average, right? You know, something else that's interesting is you see, I get pitched ideas all the time now that, you know, Credit Karma is this tiny little thing. No one talked to me now. You know, people, how'd you do it? Or like, let me share my idea with you. And you see a lot of times it's really obvious solutions that are successful, but they're not obvious until you get two people together that have pieces of the puzzle. And, you know, I see an academic, I wanted to be a PhD, by the way, I got derailed, thankfully.
Happily.
Thankfully.
Practical's good.
No, grad school's great. I wouldn't be here without my master's. But I think what I found at least is, you know, in graduate school, at least the track I was on, you get really good at one thing, right? You go deeper and deeper and deeper, and you become this like expert in this like esoteric thing that you love. We need that desperately. That's how kind of we expand our boundaries of knowledge. But you do that at the expense of breadth of knowledge. And you can't know everything. You can't learn everything. But if you get two experts together that have that depth of knowledge and they start to talk to each other, you start to realize, oh, there's actually like a lot of opportunity here. I have a friend who's he's got a new startup. It's called ARC, if you're interested. It's an electric boat company. So basically, you know, you've got a guy who's, you know, he knows a lot about battery technology, and he's friends with someone who's a sailor, and then they start talking to each other, and they're like, you know, you actually have to have a lot of weight in a boat in order to kind of like, you actually need the heaviness to have it be stable. And they're like, well, batteries are really heavy. Did you know this is actually a problem in other transit areas? He's like, no, it's actually a benefit here. So you start doing all that, and then you actually park your boat in your driveway, and it ends up being a battery for your solar panel. So it's a way to actually store energy in your lot.
Brilliant.
Super interesting, right? Yeah. But this isn't some one person that's a genius that's just in there like locked in their room thinking all the time. It's actually someone out in the world talking to a lot of people, not just technical people, not just you know, business people, but people just from all walks of life to find a set of consumer problems that all kind of correlate with one another, and then finding a solution that kind of solves it. So just wanted to say, I mean, everything that I'm hearing from you all makes a ton of sense to me. And, you know, my approach to marketing, you know, actually is a huge technical, you know, basis in it. And I still like bore some of my marketing folks, like talking about local optimas and like, you know, like gradient descent algorithms and all this kind of stuff. But I actually think that way, and it helped a lot in the early days of Credit Karma. I think it even helps today to have that extra approach, and it's just an edge in a world where everybody's doing the same thing. If you can kind of understand why they're doing what they're doing and what, you know, best practices are, and then add a dimension to it, you know, that's a way to get innovation and a way to kind of take something from here to there. And it's sort of a natural leap, but something that's no one ever just found before because they just didn't have that extra knowledge. So anyway, happy to be here. Happy to help however I can.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So now, we're going to hand it over to Dr. Robert Rippey.
Thank you.
And can I do a quick introduction, just because you won't do this?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Dr. Robert Rippey, I'm going to embarrass him.
Yeah.
So when we got a grant from then Governor Sandoval to open up an innovation hub at UNLV, everybody in town said there's one guy in this city. He's working on the strip. He's coming up with great ideas, but he's a teacher at heart. Everywhere he's gone over the course of his career, and it's been a hospitality career, former naval pilot, so he's traveled in that capacity as well. But at every stop, he's taught at the local university. I think you guys can score him. And we went to lunch at the, may it rest in peace, Mediterranean Cafe, Paymon's right around the corner. And we had him by the hummus, even though he was this big deal on the strip. And ever since, he has become really UNLV's Chief Innovation Officer, as somebody who's brought a new mindset that I will say I think UNLV is really good at. Our hotel school, of course, is unapologetic about sending students out, and you have to get 1,000 hours out there in the real world. I think all of UNLV thrives when we sort of follow that path. And bringing Dr. Rippey in, who became Dr. Rippey, that was one of your questions while we were having the hummus. It was, can I get a doctorate while I'm at UNLV? And I said, absolutely, that's the business we're in. I happen to know Kate Corrigan, I can get connected at the grad college. But we've really been fortunate to have his blend of real world experience and
Well,
you wouldn't have done that. So
thank you. I'm always humbled when you do that. And I either think, wow, this guy's got a really diverse background or he can't hold a job. So I hope it's the first one. But in any case, I'm delighted about the challenge. I think it's just an incredible opportunity. And thanks for coming. What a great guy. I'm glad I got to hear a little too. But I think it points to something. It points to what this is. You know, what is innovation? Innovation is that relationship between a problem and a solution. Really that simple. The problem needs an innovative solution in terms of economic diversity of this valley. Why? Because we said before, it's been so heavily tied to a very successful industry, tourism. But what we find when there was a unknown factor that affected tourism, there wasn't a lot of other things for people to fall back on, or there wasn't a lot of other areas that were propping things up while that recovered. And so this is a chance to do that. I see a lot, you know, obviously I teach innovation courses and I run our incubator, and I see innovative ideas happening. They're always linked to that problem that's being solved. But they can be in any discipline. I've got a group of students who are working on a project now around food security, about making food, nutritious food, more available to people, particularly people who have trouble reaching food, like the elderly or people who are incapacitated in some way. I've got a student who came up with a really great idea that is so simple, but everyone looked at it and went, oh my gosh, that's going to make you a millionaire. And it's a simple safety device because he likes to work out. And he'd recognized the most dangerous thing in a gym that everybody looked at and went, you're exactly right. That's really dangerous. Why hasn't someone done anything about that? And so he invented a device to protect himself. And so sometimes ideas are complex, sometimes they are breathtakingly simple, but they're all linked to solving a great problem. And you can identify that problem because they exist in your field. I came from a very diverse background, and one of the benefits of that is I could see what those problems were. And I was always that kind of mindfulness that, yeah, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be another way to try this. Maybe if we try this instead. So that's what you do here. You're trying to find those ways. On the screen, you see some examples of some great innovations, right? There's, you know, the prosthetic hand that was developed here. That's a Pepper robot over there, which we happen to have one of those over at the incubator facility right now. If you come to Lead Library on Monday, you can actually see it. We'll have it over there. But it's a great example. I like that picture of the robot interacting with the young woman right there, because that's what it's made for. I think that robot could be applied in a language translation capacity. So allowing it to converse with guests, say, in any kind of environment, grocery store, hospital, a nursing home, a hotel, whatever it is, but recognizing their language and conversing and the screen changing. That changes the dynamic of the experience. So it's solving a problem. So that's your challenge, is to find that solution to whatever problem you find that's relevant to diversifying this economy, and then tell us what it is. That's a great challenge. And obviously, it is a great competition. So I look forward to helping you in this, and good luck. This is really going to be fun. So what I'm showing you right here, I borrowed from a very, very well-known tech accelerator in the Silicon Valley called Y Combinator. And Y Combinator uses this model to evaluate startup companies and how well they're defining the problem. I'm presenting this to you because this would be a good tool for you. This is a tool to help you define, well, what do they mean by defining this problem and my solution? Well, they break it down like this into these different areas. Number one, is the problem urgent? Well, obviously, in our case, this problem of economic diversity is pretty urgent. We need to make sure that should something else happen, which it inevitably will, the economy is more diverse. There are other types of industries here that employ people, and it becomes a more diverse and resilient economy. Is it a big or a growing problem? Does it have potential for it to get bigger, which means the company has this potential to get bigger? That comes out of it. Mandatory means is it as a result of a change in regulation. A good example of that is the change in the regulations around sports betting. If you know anything about gambling, you know that changed a couple of years ago. So that created new opportunities. Is it costly to solve? If it's costly to solve, there's tremendous potential for growth. Does it happen a lot? Is it a frequent problem, or is it just a one-off problem? Well, we know hopefully the pandemic is not a frequent problem, but the magnitude and severity of the problem were extreme. So in this case, we've got a situation where we can kind of evaluate whether our definition of what we're going to solve, does it happen a lot? And then lastly, what kind of insight or research do we have that says this problem deserves solving? That if I solve this, I could create a new industry in Las Vegas. And maybe it's a socio-economic problem. Maybe it's an access to the arts problem. Maybe it's a food security problem or a safety problem. It doesn't matter. That's up to you to come up with. And based on your knowledge and your field and your passion, what are you interested in? What do you care about? When you think about that, you'll come up with a great entry, I'm sure.
Well, now that you've all been inspired to join the competition, we want to give you a little bit of an idea of the timeline. So this competition is going to be broken up into 2 phases. During the fall, you're going to now work on forming your team, or you're going to reach out to us and we're going to help you form your team. You're going to start attending some of these workshops that are going to help you identify resources you can use to come up with your solution. And then you're going to submit a competition proposal. So you're just going to let us know, here's my idea, here's what we've come up with. It doesn't have to be too detailed yet, because then at the end of the fall semester, we're going to have a panel of judges review all these proposals, and then the best proposals are going to move on to the next round. And then you're going to have spring semester to build your final solution, work with your team to come up with your innovative idea and your problem statement and present it to a panel of judges. So to give you a better idea of fall, you're going to submit your interest form, if you haven't already, by November 1st. That can all be found on our website, which we could share with everyone that attended here today. Like I mentioned, you're going to attend some of these workshops about design thinking, about robotics, and different resources you have to use. And you're going to submit your team registration form by November 12th. And once again, if you don't have a team, just reach out to us and we're going to help you build one. And then once you have your team formed, you're just going to let us know your name, your logo, your motto, what you're all going to be working on. And then you're going to have about a month to work on that proposal, to come up with that idea. And then once you submit that proposal in December, then we're going to all review it and we're going to announce the winners in December. That will give you some time to then work over winter break, use the facilities to come up with the final solution. We're going to have time here for a Q&A right now, but if throughout the competition you come up with other questions or you just bounce things off of us, you could email unlv@unlv.edu. Or you can send us a message on Discord. We've set up an account specifically for this challenge. So if you're all on there, you can just there as well. So now we want to give you all a bit of time for a Q&A. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can type it in the chat and we can read it out loud.
Once more, it'd be weird if you didn't have questions. We've thrown so much at you, right? This is a lot. And it's ambitious, but it's not fun if it's not, right? So let's go after it and enjoy it. And when you enjoy it, that's where the really cool, innovative stuff starts to emerge too. So by all means, if you have questions now, shoot, because we're here to help.
In the room too, not just the folks online,
Yes.
just jump right in.
Hello? Anybody hear me? Not the only one, it's great.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Hi, so my question specifically, this is for the folks kind of online. We were stuck in a different WebEx stream for quite a bit, so we missed the beginning of this, but will we be able to access these slides that you presented today? And do you have potential future dates for the technical workshops? So we can like put that in our schedule in advance?
So great questions. The first one is that we are recording this, so we will share it with everyone. We're going to post it on the President's Innovation Challenge website. And then we'll also share today's PowerPoints with you as well. In terms of the workshops, we don't have those dates solidified yet, but as soon as we do, those will go up on the President's Challenge website as well.
I have a question.
Sure.
Question number one. So you mentioned how many people are supposed to be in a team? You didn't mention that. I don't know if I missed that. And then number two, you are saying it's going to be a 3-semester program. So are finalists supposed to participate in this or not? Because if you are going to announce in December, then you have another team, then you have finalists in spring, and then maybe for next year. So what is the actual time frame of the entire program?
So the first question is 3 to 5 people can be on your team. And the second one, was it that you're asking if you're graduating in December? Did I hear that correctly?
I think just the overall timeline is the question.
Yes.
And so the timeline will be, the first round is basically from November 1st. That's the deadline for everybody to sign up. And then we're giving you a little time to get your team together or for us to help you land on a team. But basically you can start working anytime. And then by early to mid-December, we're going to have you submit your first round of proposals. And this is your idea statement, right? And so you're going to pitch the idea. You don't actually have to build anything or make it come to fruition, but you have a sort of refined idea that you're excited about and want to put forward. We'll then have judges assess those, and then the finalists will be selected. And those semifinalists, will say, are going off then for the spring semester. And you'll have more resources, more workshops, and the ability to take that idea and start to turn it into something. And that final pitch competition will be the first week of April. And that will conclude the first ever President's Innovation Challenge here. But of course, the winners in April will then go on to have all of these benefits in the coming months and year ahead. So, you know, the space at Blackfire and the Gateway, and of course, space at the incubator, having supportive experts, all of those things will happen then subsequent to that final competition in April.
Let me jump on this timeline question, because actually it opens up a much, I think, cooler conversation. So as we were discussing, and I don't know who was on at this moment, but one of the things that's happened to your campus in the sort of COVID era is that we have gone after, I think, the most sacred relationship that we have at UNLV, which is the UNLV student relationship. And we've actually potentially expanded it. So in the past, here was the situation. You're here for 4 years, or for 2 years for a master's, or a little bit longer if it takes you a little bit longer. And then you get your diploma and we say, all right, we'll see ya. Never, right? That's not the kind of university engagement that the future holds. And in our case in particular, we want to provide you with resources from your university for life. And I know that lifelong learning is a cliche, but gosh, it's a cool concept. And in our case, we'll have space for you at this UNLV incubator. An incubator is a place that gets you to potentially a business or a nonprofit. And then Blackfire, which is our facility out in the Southwest, is our accelerator, which basically takes you from the business or nonprofit formation and then hopefully makes you into something enormous, at which point you'll outgrow us and move on. But what used to be a 4-year relationship suddenly becomes a really special 6-year, 8-year, 12-year relationship where you're continuing to get UNLV resources after your graduation date, right? And to me, again, at the beginning, if you missed my introduction, I'm Vice President of Economic Development. To me, it really enhances, again, your value as a UNLV student. This isn't an additional charge to you or anything. It's just part of where the 21st century university is headed. in a way that extends the most special relationship, most sacred relationship we have, which is the relationship between you and your university. So we're giving you more, and giving you more even after this competition.
Can
Thank
I
you
ask
very
a question here? Oh, so sorry.
Hold on 1 second. Someone in the room is asking a question.
You can speak this direction so everyone can hear me. So I guess I'm thinking strategically, what are the resources that workshops are going to provide so that who can complement the skills that we.
Terrific question. So we have a couple of different answers to that, right? So at first we were thinking we're going to sort of pre-plan a whole series of workshops with these brilliant, genius professors and faculty who have gone out and been amazing innovators. And we're certainly going to do some of that. And then we thought, well, no, maybe we should wait and see what the teams are interested in and try and meet those needs, right? And we thought, well, but there are some people that we don't want you to miss no matter what, right? Like our robotics team, they're incredible. Maybe even our Mars team, right? To help you think literally out of this world. And so what we're landing on then is some combination. So what we're doing is we're in the process of booking some of these, superstars and big innovators who will spend time with you in the first few workshops. And then as we get to know you and your projects, we'll know where there are gaps, where you have needs or interests that you need to fill. And at the moment, we're in the process of building our team of faculty and community members who are here to support all of you. And so then we'll be able to connect you with the right people or schedule the right workshop to fill the gaps to meet those special needs and interests of each group. So it'll be a little bit of both.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think someone had a question on WebEx.
So my question is that I understand each team needs to have at least graduate student and undergraduate student. Is there any requirement for the majors? Like, what if two of us both have an MBA or pursuing MBA? Is that going to be allowed, or is that going to be okay?
So we're asking that teams be multidisciplinary, which means you have, students that come from 2, 3, 4, it could even be 5 different disciplines. So if you have a couple folks from MBA who want to work together, that's terrific. What you're going to want to do is find some other students from other areas of study, other majors, to work with you, or you're just going to sign up and let us know that you're a team of 2, and we're going to help you find those other folks to complement your team.
I'll give you a
Okay,
very- Sorry, go ahead.
Let me just ask a follow-up question then, because I wanted clarity on this. So like for me, I'm a JD MBA and my partner is in pursuing her MBA, and we just want to make sure we're allowed to work on the same team while adding other members.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
And just again, these innovation programs that Dr. Rippey has pioneered on campus have really seen some cool teams where I'll give just a really simple illustration. We have a class where the final exam, there's no paper, there is no midterm, there is just a final exam that is invent a gambling game that the world has never seen before. Invariably, you need some math, right? And so a math student on that team is usually really helpful. But what happens with the math teams is their product is not aesthetically pleasing like at all. And so, bringing on the fine arts folks has been those teams have just done wonders, right? An engineer who's kind of good at sort of putting stuff together, right? But here's the thing about every team, whether it's in baseball or in innovation, has a hole, right? Has a lack, right? And we'll, as you heard from Kate earlier, work to backstop your weaknesses, work to obviously provide resources for you in areas where you feel you have a need, because that's going to happen too. So again, that's the spirit of the rule, and we certainly don't want to discourage what sounds like some planning that's already going on and productively so.
I would add one thing to that, and a good way to think about it in the example of 2 MBAs who maybe have the nugget of an idea already, and you want to apply it to this challenge. Let's say that idea is some sort of device or it's something. You need some engineering knowledge to help with that, because they're going to bring a perspective to you on materials and equipment and assembly. So the best way to think about other team members when you're thinking about is who's going to complement your skills? What skills don't you have that would be very beneficial? Could it be computer science? Could it be computer engineering? Could it be fine arts? Could it be architecture? There are lots of other domains to think about. What is the most complementary skill that you could require that would push your idea in areas that you presently don't have that kind of subject matter knowledge?
The other thing I want to point out that we haven't emphasized is yet, if you're thinking to yourself, I am not a Mark Zuckerberg, I can't invent a product that's going to make $1 gazillion, it's just not who I am, that's totally okay, right? Social entrepreneurship, in other words, this is a complex problem. Social entrepreneurship refers to putting together, again, a nonprofit or some sort of community solution that addresses perhaps some of the social aspects of this very big challenge. Totally okay. So once more, if you're not a business soul and you're feeling like this is something that emphasizes, I'm going to invent a widget that then, we're going to produce millions of and make lots of money, and that's not me, that's totally okay, right? Again, in the multidisciplinary spirit of this competition, we want folks who have different backgrounds to be able to use their expertise in putting forth solutions.
Our big dream is that when we see these proposals come in, we're not only excited and inspired, which I think is inevitable, but the dizzying array of solutions, is what we're excited to see, right? So we're hoping that we don't get, 32 widgets or 32 robots, right? We really are hoping that we get a diverse and creative array of different kinds of solutions and ideas and innovations that, change the world in some small way or some big way. Yes.
I believe you have mentioned President Whitfield brought this up to other universities. Is there any way we could find out some more information about that for the students?
That sounds like a winning strategy. Find out what one of this president in the past and see if I am very certain, knowing the president as well as I do, that he will be excited to share that. And yeah, we'll send. That's a really good idea, actually, because why not study success?
Also hit the Google machine up, right? You can see what other people have done, what winning proposals have been at other universities. Get some inspiration. Yeah, great idea. Who else has a question? Don't be shy. That's what we're here for. All right.
Point of contact at the other departments across the university.
So the central point of contact, you're looking at us. And so probably if you're talking about finding other members for your team, probably the best idea would be just to message us and let us know. And we can start connecting you to the right people in the right places. We don't have a single person point of contact in every college or university at this or school at this point. But we certainly have those amongst ourselves.
Yeah. And the deans have all been informed of this. The departments have. If you're thinking, gosh, I like the idea I have, but I really need an artist to help realize this, we can help with that. We reach out to our friends on campus, and this idea has been really enthusiastically received across campus, across the disciplines. I think everybody's happy to kind of be back, and this is part of President Whitfield's desire to kind of celebrate being back, right? As wary and as conservative as we still are, of course, with the challenges that we all are facing here. And so again, it's that kind of cross-campus celebratory mood that's driven our work so far.
And the other thing it makes me think is you also know lots of people on campus,
yes,
right? So tap into your networks, your friends, your colleagues, talk to other folks in your classes, go to your professors. You have a professor you think happens to be really inspirational or creative or innovative or has a skill that would suit you, go reach out to them directly. By all means, don't feel like you have to go through us for that. Like tap your resources, the campus is here for you. So.
Good question in the chat. Will the judges also be from multidisciplinary?
Absolutely.
I would add to that, one of the best things about using multidisciplinary judges is not just the fact that you get expertise in specific areas, but also supplementing that kind of multidisciplinary with people who are outside of academia. So people who come from the venture capital world who are used to evaluating startup ideas. And it doesn't matter what field it's in, they can look for value in it. And look for people who, actively participate in innovation and entrepreneurship. So I think you're going to see a little bit of all of that in the judging panel. So it'll be a great panel for feedback and for decision making.
Other questions?
something hits you, as you're driving home, right? Reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We're really, you're talking to a team that actually we ourselves are all across campus and campuses. And this entire team here is dedicated to helping out. Yes.
Yeah, one more if you I read this year's question. It says, how do we make Las Vegas's economy more resilient, more diversified, and more sustainable for all Las Vegans? My question to this is, how far, I guess, do the judges or you guys expect us to get into the solution? As in, like, do you want like a complete outline of our solution and we present that to the team, or do you want us to already kind of like, how do I say this, have already stepped foot into our solution, and maybe if it was something like a robot, have already created that robot, for example, or like how far, I guess, do you expect us to
So
get?
that's why it's a two-phase competition. The
Yeah.
first phase is just the concept,
Okay.
right? Here's our idea. We haven't done anything. We haven't built robot. We haven't built this kind of social reengineering thing. Phase two is to prove the concept. No one expects you to come out and deliver in a few months, a fully baked out startup ready to go, but prove the concept. How can you prove that you can actually do the idea that you set forth in the first semester? And that's a little different. That could involve things like prototyping, or if it's software, a minimum viable product, enough of it that proves that it can be done.
Okay.
There'll be workshops on that as well.
Jilu, you said you have a question?
Hi, yes. So along the lines of, first semester is for the proposal and the second semester is more a bit of like a building the prototype. So, let's say I want to build an app. Well, I don't technically need a computer scientist in the first phase, right? As I'm just crafting the proposal, imagining what the app should do and things like that. But then on the second phase, if I want to build a prototype, then it's the second phase, I will need a computer scientist, right? So how does that work when, let's say your team, my team has 5 members that have no computer scientists on the first phase, and then we craft a proposal. But then on the second phase, like, are we just going to find some other computer scientists that join our team, or is that some separate effort? How does that work?
So I would suggest that probably you need the computer scientist in the first phase, because I've had students in my class who've done apps who brought a computer scientist on board who will say, well, technically that's possible, but there is a much simpler way to do that. It's not building our own. Let's give you a great example. Let's say you were building a mobile app that took a credit card. Are you going to build a payment processing software into your mobile app? No, you're going to license it, one that's already made. A computer scientist would help you avoid making that mistake. So that's a very simplistic example, but I think it makes the case that you would want that person involved all the way, because they're going to help you architect your idea. Then they're also going to help you to prove that can actually be done.
I totally agree, and I would just say, if you find midstream that you say, oh my gosh, we desperately need a graphic designer, an architect, and whatever, that's the place where we're going to backfill with experts, right? We're going to bring folks from the community and faculty from around campus who do the thing that you need to help you get there. So if your idea changes, and they should and they will, it's okay. Don't panic. We're here. We'll do our best to get you lined up with the right folks to fill that gap.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you all. We hope to
Thanks
see you
so much.
soon.